Benvenuti tutti a bellissimo Lanciano. Hello, I'm Michael Andriaccio.
And I'm Joanne Castellani, part of the Castellani-Andriaccio guitar duo, and welcome to each and every one of you to the virtual 2020 edition of the Lanciano International Guitar Seminar. The world situation with the COVID virus keeps us apart from each other, but it's our hope that with this edition here, we'll be able to impart to you our wonderful experience that we had in 2018 and share with you some aspects of music to help further your career. And in addition, while we're discussing those, we'd like to share with you some wonderful photos of our friends and the participants of the edition that we participated in.
This is a real exciting opportunity for us. Our topic today is going to be the other art of music. And I want to stress that, the other art of music. When we grew up and we were being trained to be musicians and aspiring to be concert artists and have a concert career, we were focused on the 5 aspects of music: sound, rhythm, harmony, melody, and form, totally encompassing all of music. Well, life progressed, things evolved, and all of a sudden the 5 aspects of music became 6. Sound, rhythm, harmony, melody, form, and business. And then ultimately the 6 became 7. Business and technology, and then just within the last 6 months we have an 8th parameter now: technology gone virtual, the concert hall gone virtual, the lecture hall gone virtual. So the point here is that we have to develop many, many skill sets to be a very, very successful musician in this day and age. And Joanne is going to point out to you a little bit about the diversification one needs in order to be successful in this very challenging career and a very challenging time.
Well, Michael and I were of the mindset that we just couldn't focus on one particular aspect of our career, even though initially what one does is spend countless hours practicing and practicing to prepare for their recitals and so on and so forth. So we were very fortunate to have explored pretty much the full gamut of the various aspects of being a complete musician. And we were very fortunate to have had, and still have, an international touring and recording career as an ensemble, working with and performing with orchestras, university level teaching, establishing a private teaching studio, owners of a Fleur de Son Classics, which is a record label, and we've published and arranged, and in addition to that, we are now currently the co-directors of the Joanne Falletta International Guitar Concerto Competition. So you can see with the little bit that we mentioned there how our hands have been in just about every aspect of music, especially for classical guitars as well.
And what that brings to the table are several skill sets that you need to have in addition to playing scales, getting a great sound, and playing arpeggi and that sort of thing. You really need to think beyond your instrument if you're going to have a successful career, particularly in an international career. So what we'd love to do is we're going to break off into some segments here so that we can further break down the elements of the other art of music.
And in addition, we hope to share with you numerous photos of our friends, of classes, of the great food that certainly one can experience, and the absolutely beautiful scenery of the area in Lanciano. So we hope you enjoy.
Well, let's focus on the next most natural aspect of diversification in music other than performance, and that would be teaching and pedagogy. I'm here with Joanne Castellani, my wife and duo partner, and she has opened a very, very hugely successful and large private teaching studio. And My question is that you've had so many years of success teaching at the university level at the State University of New York. How did you come to develop such a hugely successful private teaching studio? You've taught at over 100 universities around the world. What brought you to the private teaching?
Well, I felt a very strong need of keeping classical guitar very active in our community, because even before we got involved with classical guitar and we were just students, there was a history, our teacher had it, whereby classical guitar was involved with chamber music. And so there was one point that I discovered that I wasn't getting as many inquiries for people to study classical guitar. So something registered, and I said, I just have to go into the community, stir this up again, and start getting young people to be involved with the instrument. So that was my premise for really kind of getting the ball rolling.
So you've developed this huge studio. You have over 60 students. You have 5 faculty members. The next question in my mind, Joanne, would be, at the university level, you're with a student for maybe 4 years, or at the graduate level for maybe 2 years. How is it that you've got these young students who are with you for years and then go off and do great things?
Well, that's a great question, because prior to this, my relationship with a student would be, as you mentioned, 4 years, 2 years, or at best 6, and then they would go off and do other things. And there was one particular teacher who was teaching young children, and I went and observed. And he had mentioned to me that he was teaching this person for 7 years, and that I found that mind-boggling. He's like, how do you do that? And I never thought I would get to that point. And I discovered that you can have a very successful teaching studio, and longevity can be a very big part of it, wonderful part of it. But one of the key things is that you have to get the families engaged. And there's always a part of you educating, always, nonstop, the parents. Sometimes we assume that the parents realize that this is important, and then we kind of back off. But if you can keep reminding, keep educating the parents how this is an essential part of their child's development, you now have the relationship with the parent completely on board with you. The child coming in, having fun, keeping it fun. That's something that you want to see them come into the studio with a big smile on their face. And then the teacher. So if you go through this pattern, you find that, and always keeping things fresh. You always have to make it fresh so that they have goals. So it can't be like, okay, here I am, Monday, 4 o'clock lesson, blah, 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 it's the same thing. Always be looking way down the road for your studio as a whole and for your individual student as well. You cannot be thinking, okay, Monday is my teaching day. I teach from 1 to 5. Okay, Tuesday is the next day. And you're just thinking of day by day by day. You have to project. And one thing that I do is in the summer, I already have my spring concert already, the repertoire, and essentially who's going to be on each part. So you have to keep that projection way forward so that goals are always being set. And the student feels that it's very attainable as well. It's not something last minute that they kind of panic.
Right, no surprises.
No surprises.
Great. Another question comes to my mind is that the university level teaching, you show up, there's a facility, you teach, you do your research, but the university handles all of the administration. Now you've got an actual business going. You've got a small business, which is by no means small. It is multifaceted with all the responsibilities of business. What skill sets do you need to keep this going?
Well, it's a real juggling act, for sure. I mean, you need many different skills. And sometimes I'll go back to those days, when we were practicing to be the artist, the performer. We think that's the only way our mind should be focused. But you're not going to survive, so you need great organizational skills. you do need to be a salesperson. You're selling music, you're selling the art of teaching, the art of performing, the art of expression. So you need to do that. You need, the biggest thing are organizational skills. And just being able to also handle the various aspects of what that relationship is going to be with parent and child, and how you can diplomatically discuss the various issues that come up when parents sometimes have some concerns or whatever the case might be.
The other big issue or challenge that in my mind is competition, and I don't mean competition against other teachers in the community. I mean competition for the students' attention. We talked about it being a solo instrument and the whole social component and everything, and them being distracted with sports and other things. I would think that that would be the biggest thing you have to deal with.
Yes, undoubtedly. I think every teacher will tell you that the extracurricular activities tend to get in the way. And that is just something that we kind of have to deal with. But we have to create those activities for our guitar students. And how do we do that? We create ensembles, we create group classes, we have guest artists come in and teach, and then we put each student in a role. Not always the one student is going to be the lead. We mix it up so they all feel a sense of responsibility. It's like, okay, now it's your time to shine. So if we give all the students equal attention, equal responsibility, they all see the fun in it. And also there's a very interesting thing in my studio as well. There are parents that are musicians, but maybe they play another instrument, like xylophone. So I've had parents on our recital do xylophone and guitar. So there you are, you've got a fresh sound. You have parent involvement again.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and also you find out that in addition to them studying classical guitar, maybe they're studying voice. And I discovered that with one of my students, and so we did a nice little tune, Remember Me, from the movie Coco, which everyone loves that. And we had one of our guitar students who sings very well sing, and the other one accompanied her, and all of a sudden there's a realization that, wow, I didn't know someone was capable of singing that beautifully. And it's a coming together and it's a sharing. But you have to be creative. You have to dig down into each of these students and find out what makes them tick, and then really kind of expound. That's our job as teachers, and certainly my job as the director of the studio, to really enhance that and expound on it.
Well, thank you, Joanne, for illustrating that teaching is not just a sideline to help support your music. It's something that you really need to be passionate about and is equally as creative as performing on the stage. So thank you so much.
Well, no, and also I failed to mention one important thing, was that if you're doing all of these, I started out with a very small private teaching because I had the university teaching as well. It went from very small to just me and a handful of students to now over 60 students with 5 instructors. And so it can be very profitable, but you have to learn those particular skills and really stick and be formulaic with those skills. Don't lose sight of that. So hopefully we can have more private studios really kind of flourishing. So Michael, let's talk to the participants about another major aspect of our career that we ventured into. And I really have to credit you with this, establishing for us an internationally distributed record label called Fleur de Son Classics. Tell them how that all came about, why it came about.
Well, as aspiring young concert artists, you know, we managed to attract major New York management, but we couldn't seem to get a recording contract that enabled us to have the artistic freedom that we really wanted. I had some tendencies toward business at the time, so I proposed to Joanne, look, let's start our own label. We'll start it from ground zero and just see where it goes from there, and we'll start producing our own recordings. So she agreed, we did it, we created Fleur de Son Classics, and before you knew it, we had a whole number of artists that were knocking on our door and ringing our phone off the hook, which was great because we weren't a guitar label. We wanted to be a label of chamber music and classical music for music that was rarely or never before performed. And all of a sudden, our network of musicians around the world, conductors, symphony orchestras, chamber musicians, excuse me, opera singers, just exploded. And before we knew it, we have this internationally distributed record label, which has been wonderful. We've released over 125 titles with major symphony orchestras like the London Symphony, the Royal Philharmonic, the Israel Chamber Orchestra, some Metropolitan Opera singers. I mean, the list goes on. It's been wonderful, us, in terms of our concert career and the level of artists that we've been able to collaborate with.
Right. But the industry has changed since our inception of the record label. How has it changed? How have you seen that evolve?
The industry has evolved. Before, there were some major recording houses, major labels, that if you wanted this artist or if you wanted this repertoire, you had to go buy their recording, whether at the time vinyl or on CD. But then there was tremendous consolidation in the recording industry, and labels were vanishing, they were folding, and others were being absorbed by major labels, and artists were losing control. And then all of a sudden we had, with technology and the MP3, the digital age, we have a generation of people who, number one, did not believe in paying for music, and number two, did not care about the audiophile quality of what they were hearing. They were content to be listening to compressed audio files because of the convenience. So now we got a huge shift in paradigm here, both economically, industrially, and artistically. And it was a major, major challenge for all labels, particularly small labels like ours. But we were resilient. As we said earlier, with establishing the guitar studio, you have to be resilient and you have to adapt. So rather than looking at selling volume of physical product of CDs, we knew there was demand for artists who needed a viable voice to get their art out onto the platform. So we were making our money selling contracts to record these artists.
So, and that has changed tremendously now, because you get any young aspiring instrumentalist or musician, and why can't they make this a CD of themselves at home? They have a wonderful computer, they have great software, they have great microphones, et cetera, et cetera. So why can't they just self-produce?
They can. And that begs the question, okay, you can self-produce. It actually begs two questions. You can self-produce, but if you self-produce, how do you know you're actually reaching the industry standard for what's being presented? And number two, how are you going to get international recognition from self-production? Because it's almost impossible to self-market. And in this industry, it's a collaborative industry. You have the artist, you have the producer, you have the engineer, you have the marketing people, you have the distribution people, you have the broadcast people. So it is so multifaceted, and at any one of these facets, you have to be sure you're dealing with the very, very best of the best. And if you're going to self-produce, chances are one or more of these assets is going to fall through the cracks, and you're going to wind up with a product that you produce that you might be very, very happy with, but does not go anywhere.
Yeah, and so we're also faced with something new that we didn't have to experience, or we didn't experience, and that's now all of the YouTube videos that are out there, productions that are out there. So you kind of say, well, should I just focus on YouTube? Why bother with the CD? Or how do you feel? Has that sort of kind of infringed or impinged, or whatever the word I'm trying to think of, upon, the CD place?
Yeah, that's a great question. YouTube is hugely important, but it's only important to the serious artist if you take YouTube and use it as the tool rather than the be-all and end-all. The problem with YouTube is accessibility. People used to spend almost an entire lifetime to try to reach a level of international exposure. Now anybody in 20 minutes in their bedroom with a t-shirt and a microphone can be international. And that's a real dilution of quality. There's no question about it. That's not to say that there aren't some great, beautifully produced files that are available on YouTube, because there are. Many presenters, when they're looking to book talent, many employers, when they're looking to book talent, are going to YouTube so that they can not only get the oral, but they can get the visual. So it's incumbent upon any serious musician that if they're going to be posting anything on YouTube, that they've got the best producer, they've got their ability up to snuff as far as to the best of their ability, the best audio, the best lighting, the best production package they could possibly have. Because even though you can do this in your bedroom, that does not give you the international validity that's going to get you the result that you want.
Right, and it's a very powerful tool, and it does stretch far and wide, and I think a lot of teachers will attest to the fact that they will be teaching a piece to a student, the student will come back for their lessons and playing a wrong note, and you question them about the wrong note, well, this is incorrect.
Oh, but it's on YouTube.
Yes, but I heard so-and-so on YouTube, and so therefore it's law, and it's just, this is the way it must go, and so we kind of lose a little bit of our intellectual curiosity, and they don't search it out, they just kind of, this is the way you do it. So it does have some drawbacks, but all the points that you said for the participants to be mindful of is just make sure you're doing everything of the highest quality, because that's a very lasting impression.
Well, it's a good word you use, because whether you're recording a physical recording, an electronic recording, or posting on YouTube, there's one thing you never get a second chance to do. You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. And that's what you're doing when you record.
Yeah, and without a doubt, and here's a tough question to answer, because a lot of people might be thinking, okay, so we're making these recommendations about doing a professional CD, but how does someone who's young and at the beginning of their career, how do they get a recording label to say, I want to put you on my label?
That's the toughest part. They have to prove, or at least convince someone, that they are artists of longevity, that they are quality artists that have the potential for longevity in the industry. And one of the most valuable ways to do that is through competitions. You have to get your performances out there, your live performance abilities out there, and fortunately that's one of the topics that we're going to be dealing with later on in this presentation.
Right, and do you have any more to say about like the physical versus the electronic portion of it?
No, I mean, let's face it, the industry is going electronic. Every once in a while you get these fleeting trends, oh, vinyl's coming back. Well, it came back for like 6-8 months. The CD is coming back. The CD is still out there and people are still producing CDs. The downside with that is that the technology, the hardware, is being produced so that there are no CD players within the hardware, and that's what's frustrating. Otherwise, I still love playing my CDs. I love plugging them in. I still have a little portable CD player that I love plugging into because I'm getting audiophile quality without the MP3 compression, and I've got the portability that I need.
Right, and I think as musicians, when our focus is to always develop beautiful sounds, different colors, but beautiful tone, beautiful projection. And I think it's the engineer. When you work with the engineer is the one that is going to bring out everything that you have been working so hard at in your practice room, And then to have sort of something kind of squish your sound and your ear's not really hearing that.
Yeah.
So that's why you really have to go to another professional, that be it the engineer
And the producer.
and the producer that can help guide you when you get stuck on something. So all of this is to make whatever aspect of your music life that you're deciding to go with a very high level.
Don't forget, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression.
So the next thing that Michael and I thought would be very helpful to have a conversation about would be festivals and competitions. Let me say a few words about festivals, and you can discuss about competition. But why are festivals important? Well, you can see with this right here, the Lanciano Festival, that it's just so many ideas that you learn. You get perspective from various people. You hear other teachers, their comments about how you should play. It's just a total overall growing experience, and not just musically. Culturally, the people that you would come to have an affiliation with or a relationship with, participating, making music, it just goes beyond that. It goes beyond just that aspect into the whole food and
Lifelong friendships.
lifelong friendship, and that you get so much information. I think oftentimes you get on overload. It's just like you can process so much and then you kind of, oof. But that's the great part of it, because it's still there and you process it and you take it back with you and you start implementing it into your practice, your thought process, how you want to approach it, and you just overall grow from these experiences that you have with festivals. Competitions are the same thing. Why bother with a competition? It's hard.
Well, competitions are a whole different animal entirely. I mean, they breed the same great results socially as the festival, but competitions, there's generally one reason people enter a competition, and that's to win it. And what's the objective behind winning? Well, from a professional standpoint, somebody who's aspiring to be a concert artist, you really need to win some sort of professional, big-level competition to catapult you to the next professional level. And being guitarists, that's one thing, but because we're in a world of our own, a concerto competition is something that will expose you to the broader music industry, the larger platform, the bigger audiences internationally. And Joanne and I have been fortunate for almost 20 years now to be the artistic directors of the Joanne Folletta International Guitar Concerto Competition. So we've had so many young, brilliantly talented and gifted guitarists come through that whether they took first, second, or third prize have all gone off to do amazing things with their careers that would not have happened had they not entered the competition.
Right. I mean, it is a life-changing event, and to win it is always great. But for so many of our past competitors, as you said, whether they won second or third prize, it was a life-changing experience. And there was someone, a former competitor, who did not take first prize, but as a result of entering the competition, had a totally life-changing event whereby they went on and their careers after that just went
Exploded.
It exploded without a doubt. And so also the thing is that I think, Michael, you pointed out earlier, is that everyone kind of goes in with the sense that I'm going to win, I'm going to try to take first prize. But what you need to do is just think about preparing yourself for this. just prepare the repertoire, the requirements, whatever the case might be, because you still grow. You grow as a musician, and it's kind of like, what do you have to lose? Because it's win-win. If you win a prize, even better. If you don't make it, you won the sense of you got your level of playing really took a huge jump to the next level, and that probably was something that maybe would not have happened had you not put yourself under the rigors of trying to do that preparation for that particular competition.
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be a positive experience, so you really need to do your homework on the particular competition and be realistic about your level. You don't want to be entering a competition for which your level will not put you in a good position. You don't want to set yourself up for defeat. You want to, or failure. You do want to set yourself up to get the most positive performance experience as you can from it so that you come out of it as a better player. We get this question all the time because we judge competitions all over the world. Students will play, forget students, these are young professionals. They will play and they will not make the final round, and they will come up to us. I played beautifully. Why did I not make the final round? Well, because on that particular day, somebody played this much better than you. That's how it happens. So you can play your best at a competition, but that doesn't mean you're going to win the competition, because that's something totally out of your control. The only thing under your control is how you prepare and how you execute the day of the competition. So it's vitally important that you do your homework, that you're prepared, you know what you're getting into, and don't be so concerned about the result of the competition, but more concerned about how you perform and prepare for the competition.
Absolutely, because then there's no real disappointment. I guess maybe I should or shouldn't say that, but the fact is that you put yourself under the rigors of getting prepared for it, the focusing of it, and going through the experience of trying to be a part of it.
Yeah, if you play your best at a competition, you succeeded. You're hugely successful because you played better than you ever did before. The result is out of your control. But what you did was totally under your control. You played your best.
Right, and just a few short words about our concerto competition, the Joanne Falletta International Guitar Concerto Competition. The thing is that oftentimes, just as a guitarist, you just do not have the privilege of sitting there with a big symphony orchestra, and this is definitely a major orchestra. But to be able to sit there and experience and have the rapport and have the dialogue and have it all kind of come together, that in itself, you're a winner. You come away with sort of a life-changing event. So as someone said, what do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose? Compete, but do your homework, do your prep. Forget about the result, but only focus on how well you prepare and how well you play.
Well, we want to thank everyone for allowing us to be a part of this virtual Lanciano experience, and certainly to express our deepest gratitude to our very, very dear friends,
Isabella Abonizio,
Michael Newman, Laura Altman, past participants, those that are now engaged in this one. We wish you all the very best. We hope our words have given you some food for thought and sent you in the right direction. And in closing, Michael and I want to say
ciao ciao, ci vediamo la prossima volta.